Labor turned hate speech crackdowns into a weapon. They pretend it's about fighting bigotry. And I mean, look at the arrests in the UK over the last few months for people talking about Pakistani rape gangs, people talking about immigration policy. It's really happening. And it's a backdoor for total control, total political control. And political control leads to everything control, economic control, social control. Hey, Culminators, welcome to ColemanNation. It's just me today, Ron Coleman. I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's been keeping me, I don't want to say fired up, but something that's been on my mind, and that's I've been dedicating some time to. So if you follow me on X, and how could you not? You've seen that I posted in December a post that said, to be a rock and not to roll. I don't know why I decided to use that line from Stairway to Heaven. Uh, but it did seem as an appropriate, just somehow rang true in this lawsuit that I have filed with Preston Byrne against Ofcom, the UK censorship outfit. So why? What's this about? So, 2026, free speech apparently needs a babysitter from across the pond. So we're going to talk today about how Europe really is turning into the Islamic Republic of Europe, an enlightened utopia where hate speech means anything that hurts feelings, at least feelings of certain people, certain groups. And now they're trying to shove their speech rules down the throat of Americans. That's the problem. It's not my business. I mean, it is my business. I'm a human. I care. I have interviewed people in the UK on this program about free speech issues in the UK, in Scotland. But when they start trying to reach out to American people and American companies, we really all have to start worrying about that. So I'm smack in the middle of it. I'm suing to push back because who wouldn't want to play legal whack-a-mole with a bunch of British bureaucrats, right? So if you want to grab a coffee or an adult beverage, settle in. This is from 2011 warnings to 2026 courtrooms, how Europe's Islamic Republic is exporting censorship to America and why we're fighting back. So let's jump right into the action, because what could be more fun than dissecting a lawsuit against a foreign nanny state? So back in 2025, I linked up with an old online friend, Preston Byrne, as co-counsel for Kiwi Farms. I don't know if you know much about Kiwi Farms. It's a kind of a Wild West place. I never even logged onto Kiwi Farms until after I got involved in this lawsuit. I've heard it referred to many times in connection with other friends of mine on the internet. They trash people on Kiwi Farms. That's the main thing they do. They trash people, and it's a kind of a harsh environment. Feelings are hurt. So we decided, we agreed to represent Kiwi Farms and 4chan, which is in many ways similar, although I think a much bigger enterprise. Neither one of them is, as far as I know, particularly profitable, if they make any money at all. Preston and I sued Ofcom, the Office of Communications. That's their media watchdog, or their Ministry of Truth. So Preston is dual qualified in the US and UK, not something you see every day. He spent years in big law at places like Norton Rose Fulbright, and he's a blockchain pioneer. Now he's got his own firm, like a reasonable man, as I do, Burn and Storm. focusing on defending tech firms from censorship. And he often does it pro bono, as I often do, because apparently saving the internet is a hobby for some people like me. He's also the brains behind the Granite Act. That's GRANITE, all caps, which he helped roll out in October 2025 in the middle of this Ofcom fight. Granite stands for Guaranteeing Rights Against Novel International Tyranny and Extortion. It sounds like something out of James Bond. The idea is to create a shield law to stop foreign governments from enforcing their censorship rules on U.S. soils, because heaven forbid we should let the British tell us how to meme. So the UK's Online Safety Act, the EU's Digital Services Act, these gems of progressive legislation give power to regulators like Ofcom to fine or force American platforms to delete content that's totally protected here under the First Amendment. And you can argue whether it ought to be, but from our point of view, that's an American argument. And if it's on an American server, it's America's job to protect its citizens. And if Europe doesn't want people in Europe consuming that material, then let them put up their own firewalls like they do in China and Cuba. So the idea is, instead of giving, just as the Online Safety Act and the Digital Services Act purport to give overseas regulators the power to enforce their laws in the U.S., we flip the script with the Granite Act. If one of these furners tries to do that, the U.S. companies in question, the ones who are affected, can sue them in federal court or in the court of whatever jurisdiction passes this model act. It requires a waiver of sovereign immunities. And we hit them with big damages, statutory minimum starting at $1 million per violation, even 10% of the U.S. revenue. Why does it have teeth like that? Because it's kind of hard to impress a sovereign, another country. Now, right now, it is very close to being passed in the state of Wyoming, which has become an interesting sort of freedom jurisdiction in the United States. So Wyoming passed a version of it earlier this month, HB 70 it's called. I don't know, probably they don't have all that much else to do there. And it's also been introduced in places like West Virginia and even the People's Republic of New Hampshire. Federally, it is on the radar in the House and Senate. There isn't a bill yet, but there is building momentum amid all this EU-UK overreach. And there's interest, in the executive branch as well. Preston is pushing it hard as a way to turn America into a free speech fortress, which I like. You got to like that. I mean, we really are. But these are attacks. We're manning the battlements. Maybe this is a wall even liberals would approve of. I don't know. Liberals should like this. But as we found out so many times, their interest in civil rights usually depends on whose ox is being gored. So our case, 1:25 civil -02880-RC, no connection, I'm not the judge, in the U.S. District for the District of Columbia. Enough said. We talk about, we allege, and it's all factual. Ofcom demanded that U.S. sites like 4chan and Kiwi Farms censor stuff or face huge fines, up to 10% of their global revenue, and even threatened to block UK access, which is not the biggest punishment in the world, but as a precedent, we wouldn't want them to be able to do that. And they did try. I mean, how do you, as a regulator, notify an entity that you purport to have power to regulate that they are being regulated? Right? Yeah. So they tried sending an email, like we're, confirming our pizza order or something. That doesn't cut it. U.S. law requires that a foreign entity that wants to effectuate service on a United States company has to serve them in person, and they didn't, because they can't. So we said they don't have any jurisdiction. Keep in mind, if they don't have jurisdiction, then they don't have jurisdiction. They can't. They have no power, no legal right to enforce this rule, which we don't think they have anyway. And another reason we don't think they have it, by the way, is this First Amendment thing, right? First Amendment, it's not supposed to bow to foreign bosses. And Section 230 shields platforms from this nonsense. Now, the First Amendment is really about protection of citizens and companies in the United States. Any person who wants to speak or communicate, express, protection against the government. It doesn't explicitly say anything about foreign governments. But as a matter of policy, we say, as a matter of the policy of the First Amendment, it would be preposterous to suggest that the First Amendment permits the crown of all countries, the British crown, to do that which the United States government cannot do, right? So Ofcom pushed back in October. They made a motion to dismiss. The case is still cooking. No telling when we'll get a judgment from the court. This is something that I told you would happen if, as you should be, you've been following my work online. I tweeted about it in 2011. I wrote about it on my old Likelihood of Confusion blog. Like a bad rash, this problem has been festering. In 2011, I posted that Europe was ground zero for this clash, the clash between free speech and demands to respect faith, respect differences, which is pretty much code for caving to militant Islamic pressures, because nothing says tolerance like self-censorship. Well, to some extent, that's true. It does. Self-censorship is a legitimate way for people to go through life. You can't, not everything that is thought should be said, not everything that is said should be written, not everything that is written should be published. But that's got to be an individual decision. Remember remember in 2006, the Muhammad cartoons mess, right? The Danish paper ran some drawings, protests, threats from Gaza, people getting killed. Governments start apologizing faster than a politician caught in a whorehouse. Media self-censors like it's going out of style. Suddenly hate speech laws are popping up everywhere. And I said it was a clash of antimatter and matter. You can't mix free expression with deference to religion. And I'm a religious person. And I think it's horrible, horrible what people say online about religion and people of faith, but there's no way to have winners and losers in a free speech regime. I mean, you can choose not to have a free speech regime if that's the kind of country you want. But the kind of country we want, the kind of country we've chosen, is one with free speech. The EU, they're not on board with this. And of course, they have this high moral dudgeon about it, amazingly. They like to talk about dialogue, but they're cool with fatwas. I predicted that it would lead to full on censorship machines, blending Sharia vibes with progressive secular control. Because Europe loves a good hybrid disaster, right? And boy, did I nail it. Ofcom's basically living that prediction, patrolling the internet like hall monitors on steroids. The Germans doing quite a bit of that as well. And, in 2018, I noticed that the UK Labour and American Democrats they actually like this quite a bit. They are very comfortable with the anti-Semitic, anti-free speech content and mission of the people involved. These are members of their coalitions, and they have come around to the realization that their coalitions can only survive if our coalitions are destroyed. Labor turned hate speech crackdowns into a weapon. They pretend it's about fighting bigotry. And I mean, look at the arrests in the UK over the last few months for people talking about Pakistani rape gangs, people talking about immigration policy. It's really happening. And it's a backdoor for total control, total political control. And political control leads to everything control, economic control, social control. Think of the campus speech codes. Look what's happened to the universities. Look what they've been turned into. These alliances require that everybody think the same or pretend to. And that's how you get countries as a whole adopting and purporting to enforce over foreigners things like the Online Safety Act. So it's not an accident. It's a straight up convergence. And, a little about me, about why I care about this. I am a conservative. I'm a litigator. And I have been privileged to combine these two components of my interests and personality in life to battle free speech cases for many years. I've taken on everything from defamation suits against cancel culture mobs, defending online platforms from overreaching regulators who think they're God, and from overreaching social justice warriors who really scare the hell out of you. They really should. They haven't gone away, they've just gotten more subtle. And I've said this before, if X had not been purchased, or if Twitter had not been purchased as it was by Elon Musk, I don't know where we would be now. Big tech is trying to silence voices that don't fit the narrative. Many institutions, the judiciary, you've heard all this before. If you've ever watched an episode of this, and if you're still listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, this stuff, if you let it go, it spirals into full-blown suppression. Name one slippery slope argument that's been wrong over the last 50 years. They've all been right. Tyrants never stop at just a little. So, yeah, we got to push back on the First Amendment. And even if this case doesn't go the way we want it to, it's going to raise the issue at the federal level that I think, in Wyoming, apparently they're paying attention to. So I'll keep you posted on that. I'm going to keep talking about it. Be cognizant of this kind of stuff. I've said this before. I've said it in car schmoozes. We need to stand up, sign our names for speaking up. The bad guys are the ones who hide behind anonymity. There are exceptions, some of my best friends, etc. But by and large, for most of us, the standing up makes a big deal. It's got to happen. And if you get slapped down, there are people, not just me, there are people everywhere who are prepared to help you vindicate your rights. That's what Preston and I are trying to do with the Ofcom suit. And I think we're going to get something accomplished. It's not just another file on my desk. Not that there are any files. There's a lot of garbage on my desk. I'm not going to show you a picture. I'm embarrassed. But you know what? Passover is coming up. So I'm going to just already at this point wait till I do the Passover cleanup. And although dust is not considered chametz, is not a form of leaven, my dust is at least 30 to 50% leaven. We've got to uphold the First Amendment. And if it's not even the narrow, legally defined version of the First Amendment, it's the interests and the principles that the First Amendment is about. Otherwise, you've got Big Brother moving in as a roommate. And I can tell you in my house, we don't have room for that. Especially a foreign Big Brother, one with a clipped accent and a prancing funny walks. We've got enough homegrown nonsense. I mean, I don't have to tell you. The Ofcom case is not just another file. It's not just another case. If we lose this, it's going to embolden the likes of Ofcom. But I think it's going to enable people like Preston to go to Congress, contacts that he has in Congress and in the White House and elsewhere, to say, all right, this is a problem in our legal system. We need to make it possible for people to win these cases. We need to protect American first right, American free speech. What's the question? And if we win, and there are a lot of different versions of winning, then we go back to what we already are, but an unbreakable version of the free speech stronghold, the beacon for the world, which is nice. I would also not mind if we were the bacon for the world. I myself can't eat bacon, but I'm not offended by it. And I think a lot of great Americans enjoy it, as they should. So look, I'll be keeping you posted on that. I wanted to talk about this today. Really should have gotten Preston on, but he's a busy guy. He really is well connected on this. He's very knowledgeable. Now, you're a little bit more knowledgeable about what's going on and what the stakes are. So, hey, you, Culminator, be a rock. Don't roll. You got this. We can do this. That's what's going on in my little part of the world. That and a lot of other things. But I thought this was something people should be more cognizant of. Something I could talk about today on this snowy February day. Thank you so much for this somewhat abbreviated bit of culminating. Come back again soon. I hope you enjoy our 5th season. Yes, 5 big seasons. Count them. So that's my schmooze for today. I hope you enjoy our fifth season. We're trying to maybe pick things up, perk things up, plug things up. There's so much going on, so much to talk about, so many interesting people. Subscribe if you haven't already on YouTube, on your favorite blog reception and distribution platform. And culminate along with me through the rest of the year. Have a good one.